Welcome to another episode of Gari-On Talk. Today we have the honor of speaking to Mrs. Sandra Miranda-George. I know her, through a friend of a mother of a friend. And also, she's the former president of NGC, which is the National Garifuna Council. So we're happy to have her here, and I will pass it over to her so she could talk about her background and, her journey um, of coming to where she is now today. So, Miss Sandra, thank you for being here. I will pass it over to you.
Thank you, Dorette. And Biti Binafi Hong Agamba Hatinga. I am proud to present myself, Sandra Miranda-George. And as a background, it might take a while for you to catch up, but I was born and raised in Dangriga. Both my mother and father are Garinago. Okay?
Mm,
Most of you will know my mother. She is the late Esteline Castillo, and my father is the late Pascual Miranda. I was raised by my mother's sister, Mrs. Irene Lino. So the person who I am today, I give the credit to Mrs. Irene Lino and her late husband, Domingo Lino. They are both deceased. I grew up with them. I went to school. I attended Holy Ghost Primary School in Dangriga, and later on attended Stan Creek High School, also in Dangriga. And at that time, Stan Creek High School it was an Anglican high school, and it was very strange for some people that I was attending an Anglican high school coming from a heavy Catholic background.
mhm,
But that school was my choice because of its academic achievement and excellence during that time.
mm,
I graduated from Stan Creek High School in 1974, and I was among the last graduates from the two separate high school, which is Stan Creek High School and Aston High. Now they were amalgamated and ecumenical started September of that year. I graduated in June, and September, Stan Creek Ecumenical High School opened its doors.
mhm,
Right. Because of the economic situation, my uncle, my adopted father, had passed away. So it was only me and my aunt. So at that time, I had to find something to do. It was not, so I couldn't go like some of my colleagues went straight to sixth form. I had to work, and I started teaching. My first job was a teacher at the Stan Creek Methodist Primary School. And prior to that, during going to school after my adopted father, Mr. Lino, passed away, to help my mom had to do things to sell. And when I say my mom, I mean my adopted mom. And I used to sell bus tickets Tuesdays and Thursdays for Zabani. And a lot
mm,
of people might not remember that, but these were things we had to do for survival, right? We had to,
mhm,
so I started that. Then on summers, I used to go sell at James Cheese grocery store. And still at night, do Tuesdays and Thursdays selling bus tickets. And after graduation, it took a while for me to get a job. I graduated June, and I started the job like in January, teaching at Stan Creek Methodist, right? Dangriga Methodist. And at the end of that summer, I got a job offer with the government of Belize because I was sending out applications.
mm,
I was hired in the government of Belize as a second class clerk at the income tax department. And that started my career to where I am now. Because it was working at income tax that I get into the love of accounts.
mm,
Because I was told if you want to move ahead in this department, you need to have an accounting background. And I started while I was fully academic at Stan Creek High School. I did like bookkeeping one, bookkeeping two, advanced. Then I went into accounting at St. John's Extension. There was St. John's College Extension. At that time, it was at the on New Road. And that's where I started to do, and I noticed I excelled, I was doing good, and I was also putting my all to the job.
Mhm.
So I got promoted from second class clerk to first class clerk. And as first class clerk, you say, well, to move from here, you need to do more. And while I was a first class clerk, I did the Association of Accounting Technician courses, which is an English based semi professional accounting
Mm.
course. And I did that and was successful. So I was promoted on the job. I got inspector of income tax and assessor of income tax. I moved to the districts, and I had 15 years working at income tax. In
Wow.
1978, and I got married to the late Isaac Zuniga, who is the father of my four children. And together we built a home, and we gave our children the best we could have with the resources we have.
Mhm.
And we instilled education in them. It was not an easy journey, but we worked through. Because
Mhm.
living in Belize City at that time as Garinago was not that easy, especially in the working environment. Right.
Mhm.
So whenever they said, you need to get this qualification to move ahead, I tried to get it. So there
Mm.
was no reason for them to keep me behind.
Mhm.
And through the insistence too and the passion that my husband at that time had for his culture, it, it came on me.
Mhm.
So I developed that strong passion. And so we were involved in Garifuna organizations from Belize City. I could remember there was a 19th of November. It was not a public and bank holiday as yet.
Mhm.
And we had this group behind Pink Sally and income taxes on North Front Street. And they came out parading. I left the office and joined that parade.
What?
And because I stand there and I said, but what am I doing here? And I just joined that parade. And that was my first encounter dealing with Garifuna organizations. And 2 years later, it became a public and bank holiday.
Mhm.
But before, I was in that parade every 19 because that was the route to take. And as soon as it passed income tax office, I joined the parade. Surprisingly, I was not disciplined. When I got back, because I got back to work, I didn't take it like I'm taking the day off.
Mhm.
After the parade ended, I went back to work and finished the day. Right.
Mhm.
And ever since then, even now, I still have that passion of being Garifuna. And when I would see on the job when they were Garinago, who'd come and I'd see them victimized, I'm the spokesperson.
Mhm.
And I would teach them, train them, tell them, listen, you have to act this way. You cannot let these people have an upper hand over you. And with that, oh my, we work well.
Mhm.
And after 15 years when I left income tax, because my then husband was transferred, so we went to Belmopan. And that's when I started working in the ministries.
Mhm.
I had the Ministry of Education. I worked in the Ministry of Natural Resources. I worked in Ministry of Works. That's the first ministry I worked at was the Ministry of Works. Right. And in Belmopan, I got involved with NGC branch Belmopan. And with that, from that branch, that was I would say, during that time, that was a very good branch. It had things going. as much as we were in Belmopan and the Garifuna population was small, we all
Mhm.
came together and we worked and we paid our dues and things used to happen.
Mhm.
And we had many great leaders coming from Belmopan, right, who were working for Garif to strengthen the Garifuna effort because we were working with the government department, most of us, so we knew what we were dealing with.
Mhm.
And so, as not to look like we were an advocacy against government, we also approached them and we got assistance.
Mhm.
And from there, we were very well respected in the Garifuna community in Belmopan. Yeah.
Mhm.
And now I am still, later on, I retired from the government and then I was president of NGC. I was working with a project when I became president. So at the end of the period, I did not renew that contract. I said I need to serve NGC.
Mhm.
As I realized as the president and you're working, it's very difficult. Because one thing I must say, you do not get the support you need.
Mhm.
And it was a rude awakening for me because coming out of Belmopan, we worked together.
Mhm.
And now going to the national executive, when you think that you have support, everybody just, oh, it's a president, it's a president. And when people talk about what is NGC doing, they don't mean the organization, they mean the president,
Mhm.
right? Because it's a president who is working. And when you ask for assistance, it's very, you might get one or two, right?
Mhm.
You might get one or two people. My first term as president, I had assistance, and I must give kudos to Miss Mary Enriquez, who
Mhm.
worked with me during that time. And I pulled in my daughter Sheena, who also helped me. So those were the two people I relied on to assist.
Mhm.
My second term, it was me and Sheena. We had to push to get things going. And when we started to have projects, I must say I got assistance from Miss Gwen Nunes Gonzalez and from Stan Martinez, who is from Belmopan. He was the then vice president.
Mhm.
And we used to just get things done. Because I had worked at a project before, because when I retired from the government service, I worked with the Belize Rural Development Project. And because of the experience of that project, I wrote project proposals and they were successful. We built the first cassava house
Mhm.
in Dangriga. And going to Dangriga, and when I see that place, I'm sad. I said that was not the intention for it to stay closed. It was for all Garinagu first to train because we had lost, we were not really doing cassava bread anymore
Mhm.
as the way it used to. So it was to train the young people and later on and have them use it, maybe for a fee because it has maintenance,
Mhm.
to use it along with the equipment there so that they could sell cassava for their livelihood.
Mhm.
Would even train them how to go to not really export immediately, but to make it presentable. And
Mhm.
we work along with the Sabals Cassava Group because the Sabals are way ahead in this. And
Mhm.
we work and they really worked along with us. Mr. Ernest Sabal was there with us every way. We went all the way to Honduras
Oh,
to
wow.
see how they are doing their stuff. But surprisingly, we don't get interest.
Mhm.
And when the place was used, it was like abused.
Mhm.
Not by, say, the people in Dangriga, but we had to have somebody there
Mhm.
to show like a presence. And I think it was abused because the people, the Garinago of the Dangriga, did not embrace this facility as their own.
Mhm.
And it is still there. And I would hope that one day they would embrace it as their own
Mhm.
because it is there for them. We're losing a lot of things in our culture. and we end up now buying for others or imitating other people's culture. That is
Mhm.
not ours, right? So we need to refocus and look at our culture, look at what we are losing. We are losing the language, we are losing our livelihood. We don't want to go to farms anymore. And food security is being pushed in every corner. So we need to embrace the livelihood of our ancestors. They used to go to farm and fishing. And I would say, look at when Garifuna gave up fishing. When fishing is now lucrative.
Mhm.
That's when we don't want to go fishing. So now we don't want to go fishing. No, it is getting lucrative,
Mhm.
right? We don't want to go to farm, but the produce are getting expensive.
Mhm.
We don't plant planting anymore, but planting is selling like first the last I know in Belize it was like three for dollar.
Wow.
Now I don't know how much it is, right? But it is expensive.
Mhm.
So we are no longer planting what we eat,
Mhm.
and what we plant were healthy food. And now we try to encourage, one of the projects we got was to encourage the backyard gardening. There is a group in Danriga doing exactly that, where you could even have things in your little containers and it would grow. And we try to encourage others, but a very few people take it up.
Mhm.
And these things are literally for free. You don't have to pay, it's only your time.
Mhm.
And we won't pay you to train you. No project will pay you to train you. But while you are in training, you can start to practice how to do these things.
Mhm.
I am now here living in New York. I'm in an apartment building and I have my oregano growing right inside.
What?
I have it by the window where it could get sun and I water it and I'm thinking of putting sweet pepper,
Mhm.
right? So you could do these things. I say no, I remarry. My husband is not Garifuna, he is from Grenada. But most of the things they do are similar to us.
Mhm.
They plant, and during the winter time, I help take it down into their basement.
Mhm.
You put on the light and you water your plants there every now and then, and you do these things, right? I have a neighbor next, they have a neighbor next door who is from Dangriga. Mr. Pastor have his garden right there. We would get tomato from him around this time. You get sweet pepper, you have okra. He plants. So there are people who are planting in their backyard. But
Mhm.
how many, but we need to put this to our Garinago home. When
Mhm.
I say home, home in Belize, right? If we keep ourselves occupied doing these things, we will be less in trouble,
Mhm.
less in problem. Mm. It will only benefit us,
Mhm.
right? And we need to work together with our Garifuna organization. Don't stand by looking on and to see if it will succeed or fail. Because when NGC fail with a project, we all fail because they look at us as Garinago.
That's true.
And when the project succeed, they look at us as Garinago.
Mhm.
Because our project succeed, now they are begging NGC to write project proposals.
Mhm.
Right? They would say there is, and they would send it to NG. Some of them would come to my email and I forward it to the current president.
Mhm.
But her issues are the same that I had. And unlike me, I was not working. She is working full time.
Mhm.
So then it becomes, you need support.
Mhm.
It's not a one man game or a two people game. You need that support.
Mhm.
And you don't need mouth support. When I say you just need, you don't want anybody to say, do this, do that, do that. You want them to help you do it. Let it happen.
Mhm.
Right? All right, whatever question you have. I think I've said a lot.
Okay. Well, we definitely appreciate, you sharing. Um, Definitely good to learn more and learn how you see things and how you see the world and what what's important to you. So thanks for sharing that. So um, in terms of growing up Garifuna, what was that like for you?
For me, growing up as Garifuna, for me, then it was not an issue for us because it was our daily life,
Mm-hmm,
right? We know we are Garina go. My grandmother, grandaunt, grandfather, we only speak Garifuna at home, right? And then as growing up, I had neighbors who were non-Garifuna, but those neighbors did not see me differently. So
mm-hmm,
it's the area that you grow up
mm-hmm,
as we are in a Garifuna, almost predominantly Garifuna environment. And I felt like them, like one of them. And I guess the difference is that I can't speak Garifuna to them,
mm-hmm,
right? But that was the only issue. And it was always there, Garina Gahagea. And certain things would say, my grandfather would say, be careful, Kunigibaitia, Kalabadugabay, Garifuna Bogia.
mm-hmm,
Warning us that we'll be seen differently doing certain things.
mm-hmm,
And he was one of my idols, male idols, my grandfather and my uncle, late
mm-hmm,
Stephen Castillo, because he pushed education in me.
mm-hmm,
And he would say, I know you could do it. Don't let down yourself. Just go for it.
mm-hmm,
And I had like the support of my adopted parents who pushed me through to high school. Unfortunately, when I graduated, my adopted father had passed away like a year before. So like the struggle was me and my mom who insisted, and he had insisted that I would finish high school regardless. And that happened. That was the key then. What is high school then? Is not no,
mm-hmm,
because you were prepared for the world then,
mm-hmm,
right? You were prepared for the working field everywhere. So, and that's how I grew up.
mm-hmm.
Surprisingly, my grandfather, though, would not allow us to dance punta.
What?
No, when he look at you say, no, no, no. But he embraced the paranda. So we
Mm-hmm,
could do paranda. My uncles, they are Jankuno dancers.
mm-hmm,
Right? So we were in the culture, except he did not like the punta.
mm-hmm,
I have two uncles who are good Jankono dancers. Right? And I have some brothers who are Jankono dancers too. I have my birth mother. She was a grand ball dancer.
oh,
Right? And because, well, that's my mother's sister, so we still grew up, we still had that bond.
mm-hmm,
So, and it's because of her, I learned to dance grand ball, fell in love with it, and is a grand ball dancer. And I
mm-hmm,
have brothers help train me. So it's all in the family.
mm-hmm,
So we had Jankono dancers, we have grand ball dancers. I love paranda, and I have a brother who is a drummer. It was like two brothers who was a drummer. Then I have a brother who used to be in the Ogundani dance group,
mm-hmm,
and that's all growing up. You know,
mm-hmm.
we were all into that. What my grandfather would say, he want the decent part of the culture. That's his views, not mine. But that's how he see it,
Mhm,
right? That is how he see it.
mhm,
And so we were never missing or denied that part of the culture. And
mhm,
we were active, we participated, and the family appreciated it.
mhm. Okay. And
Mhm.
so you understand and speak Garifuna, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Only
So,
problem is
mm,
though,
mhm,
while both of us, me and the children's father, we spoke Garifuna, Our problem is we use it, but blot out the kids.
Mm.
So they are not fluent in Garifuna the way
Mm.
we were or the way I
Mhm.
am.
Mhm.
I'm trying to get them now to learn Garifuna, but it's not as easy as if we had done it when they were
Younger.
kids coming up,
Mhm.
right? So now they know one words. Yes, they know they used to hear it. They would hear it from us.
Mhm.
That was our big mistake. And I will be the first to admit to it.
Mhm.
That it was, and at a point we said we will get a Garifuna babysitter to speak Garifuna to these kids. Unfortunately, we got a Garifuna babysitter, but she did not do that,
Mm.
right? She did not do that. And so when they started school and it became kind of, when we conscious of what we were doing, it was difficult to bring it back in.
Mhm.
So I would tell them things in Garifuna and see, and then I would explain to them. But now that they're all adults, I'm saying you could learn, you could pick up.
Mhm.
So it's not that late. I say your Garifuna, it's in your blood.
Mhm.
And I know that Sheena is attending Garifuna classes, and I gave them books, that Garifuna books. And I said,
Mm.
these are yours. You could read it and you can pick it up, you know. So they have the tools now. I'm not there to teach them.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mhm. And how important do you think it is for people, especially people of Garifuna origin, to learn the language?
I think it is very important because that is how you start to lose the other elements of your culture. Because if you there are people who tell you, I don't speak Garifuna, I know I'm a Garifuna, and I'm full into the culture. Fine,
Mm.
good.
Mhm.
But come 10, 12, 13 years down the road, how the next person would see it,
Mm.
the next generation.
Mhm.
They're saying, oh, what is this? You know, there are no, because you start to lose the language, you're not talking the language, then you're adapting other cultures, you're adapting other languages, and
Mhm.
eventually other aspects will phase away. See, as
Mhm.
it is, our our dietary aspect, while we still eat plant hudut, but we are no longer planting.
Mm.
And when it becomes expensive for us to buy, we'll go to the other substitutes.
Good point.
Right? So then we're losing. But we
Mhm.
need to do all we can to preserve our language. And the reason I say preserve, because it's not all lost.
Mhm.
But if we sit and do nothing, then it will be lost.
Mhm.
There have been languages that were lost, and that those countries or that culture did all it can to bring it back, and some came back successfully.
Mhm.
So we can. But like I said, it's not a one-man game. We all have to play our roles in it.
Mhm.
Little Primary School is an example. Yeah, but if the parents are not talking to these students in Garifuna, how long will it go? How far will it go
Good question.
when they leave school?
Mhm.
Right? And the teachers need to start to talk to the children in Garifuna at the break. During break, you should tell them you only want to hear Garifuna. But the thing is, though, that the non-Garinago are pick that goes to that school are picking it up.
Mm.
So what happened to ours? So I think there need to be now an effort. We are in the decade of indigenous language. Before that decade ends, I would hope that we can train the parents so that they can start and encourage them to speak Garifuna to the children at home,
Mhm.
especially those who have not lost it and are still speaking Garifuna.
Mhm.
And for those who are not, for us to train them. It's a decade, and we can, again, write projects, seek funding to help us in this. But we also need the parents to sign up and attend.
Mhm.
What sense would it make if you get the project, you have the money, but no participants? It would be a shame on us.
Yeah.
So we need to start to take our culture seriously and look at what NGC is doing, the National Garifuna Council is doing. Give it support. Don't stand on the wayside and critique because you're also critiquing yourself.
Mhm.
And then they like to look at us and say, oh, they're stealing the money, they're stealing the money. One thing I must say, Dorrit, when you have a project, you have to account for every penny spent.
Mhm.
So who will steal that money? And I tell you, the accounting is more important to them than the outcome of that project,
Hmm. Wow.
right? And whatever monies you can't account for, the council have to put it back in,
Oh, wow.
right? Because you account on a regular basis.
Mhm.
So I would really want that to stop because nobody is stealing anybody's money. These are projects. You have to account for it. We ask Garinago to give dues so that they can help
Mhm.
with things, because all these projects, they would give you 80%, you need to find 20. We
Mm.
need assistance.
Mhm.
We try to do fundraising, right? But because they don't want to put in the money.
Mm.
But the article of NGC had asked for members to pay,
Mhm.
like on a monthly basis, to pay a monthly dues of $1. It's
What? $1?
$1 per month. And if
Wow.
every Garifuna would pay that, we would be in a good position. Now you hear some saying that we need to get to government and we need to let government know and like to advocate against the government. But NGC cannot do that because they get an annual subvention from the government.
Mhm.
When I was still in Belize, that subvention was $60,000. After COVID, it reduced.
Mm.
Right? I'm not sure if that 60 is reinstated back,
Mhm.
but I know it was reduced during COVID. I left Belize that same month of the COVID lockdown. So when
Mm.
the lockdown, I was already in New York.
Mhm.
Right? So I've been in New York as long as COVID.
Mhm.
And then I got married. And now, so now New York is my second home.
Mhm.
Well, it's like home. Only
Mhm.
visit Belize.
Mhm.
But my heart is still with Garina. Go everywhere.
Mhm.
And I noticed that here, sometimes I'll feel the most of the activities happen in the Bronx by the
Mhm.
on the rain and Garinago.
Right.
And now and then I would attend some of their activities because I'm always invited, but it's so far from where I am.
Mhm.
And because it's far from where I am, I cannot participate the way I would.
Mhm.
Every year we have a mass in honor of TV Ramos, right? I always attend that mass.
Mhm.
Right? Because anything Garifuna, I want to know, I want to participate.
Mhm.
But I don't want to take the limelights from anybody. So I go as an ordinary participant. My thing is I'm there.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm supporting, I'm participating in my cultural activity. And that's my only goal. I
Right.
don't want any leadership position anymore. I had it with NGC, I've done my share, but that
Mhm.
does not take away being a Garifuna from me.
Mhm.
Right?
Right.
And
So, what advice would you give someone, um, especially young people who might either can understand Garifuna but can't really speak it fluently, or do not, but do not understand and do not speak Garifuna, but want to learn the language? What advice would you give that person?
there are a lot of young Garinago in that exact position. In fact, there are a higher percentage in that position than you would think, right?
Mhm.
Than those who are fluent. And my advice is not understanding one does not take away being a Garifuna from you.
Mhm.
And if you are interested, I noticed that there are several Garifuna classes going online. And if you are really serious about learning Garifuna, it doesn't matter who has the course. It can be a Garifuna from Belize, a Garifuna from Honduras, a Garifuna from Guatemala. If you have the opportunity to join that class, join it.
Mhm.
And there are sessions in some of those classes where you actually speak Garifuna, or they put you along with someone else to speak Garifuna, right? Different lecturers or different sites have it differently, but it is out there. And there are several books also that teaches Garifuna. And you will find that they're easy to learn. They're easy. And also, if you know anybody, if you're in Belize, you know any of the teachers at Golisi, there are books there also on teaching Garifuna. Online, there are several books. And I know that there is an author, Los Solis,
Mhm.
and she's now Los Solis Ramos, who
Mhm.
have nice books, easy to learn books out there. I bought some of the books on the on Amazon, and those books are easy. So you, along with the classes, you can get those books.
Mhm.
Right? And now we should look not at the academic part of learning Garifuna, but look at the communication in Garifuna.
Mhm.
Right?
I agree with that.
Look
Too
at
much,
the
sometimes
oral
too much
aspect.
emphasis is placed on all the grammatical,
No,
you
no,
know,
yeah.
rather than the actual,
Yeah, the oral
practicing of
part.
the language,
Yes, great.
listening and
Mm-mm.
speaking and
And I'm that's why I'm saying, do not put emphasis on that academic Garifuna.
mhm.
We will get there sometime. Our first aspect is the communicating in Garifuna, the oral aspect of Garifuna. When you learn Spanish, when you're in school, there are two things that you learn about Spanish: the academic, the grammar, and the oral.
Mhm.
And when you take Spanish, in my days, you had to take Spanish for GCE, you had to do both. But now we are trying to preserve a culture that is lost, and for some, you're restoring it. Learn how to speak it first.
Mhm.
The grammar will come in.
Mhm.
And sometimes just how you speak it, it's already part of the grammar,
Mhm.
right? It's already part of the grammar. So that's what I would advise any young person. Sometimes we spend our money in the wrong places. Go on Amazon or you go on the internet and see what Garifuna books out there that you can learn.
Mhm.
Start find which Garifuna classes out there that you can attend, because there are. I've seen them,
Mhm.
right? And some are ongoing. They're ongoing right as we speak. Right? So that's just take a few minutes of the week. Most of them are being taught on Sundays to accommodate for the working people and see how you fit in.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, Garifuna is Garifuna. Right? While we mix it in English, Honduras and Guatemala mix it in Spanish. But
Mhm.
some of those Spanish words are already part of our vocabulary in Garifuna.
Mhm.
So let's not be biased, just be open minded
Mhm.
and you will learn.
Okay, thanks for that.
Mhm,
So now I would like to switch gears a little bit. So I'm
mhm.
going to show you some images and ask you um, to tell me the name of those images in Garifuna.
Okay.
So it's a game I call Garifuna Say, and I will share my screen. Just let me know that you're able to see what I switched to.
Mhm. Mango.
Mm-hmm.
Mango.
Yeah.
Mango turali daba asiedo ano ati gusi yun.
Mhm.
Tell her she a mango to her. So
Right.
that's a mango. It's a
Mhm.
plate. There is a knife beside it,
Mhm.
and you're starting to peel the skin off the mango.
Mhm.
All right.
So when I came to live here, a few years ago in New York, you know, it's then when you go somewhere else, like outside the country
Mhm.
from where you're from, that's when, it becomes more apparent to you the similarities and the differences, and you sort of like gain more appreciation for what
Mhm.
you had. and
Yeah.
and mango is one of them because it's so common in Belize, all types.
Mhm.
But when you come here, the taste is different. It's not as much variety and all that.
Mhm.
So such a big difference. So have you
Our
had
Belize
any
and
mangoes
mango.
this season?
Mhm. I haven't had any as yet, but I still think our mango from Belize is much nicer than the one we get here.
I totally agree. I
Yeah.
totally agree with that.
Mhm.
And that's it, mango. Mango.
Aye, mango.
Vida Garifuna.
Aye.
Garifuna.
You see how we just adapt it from the English mango.
Mm-hmm.
Mango.
Mm-hmm. All right, so this next one
Oh,
is
that's
coconut.
Falmouth. That's Falmouth's coconut. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
green coconuts. So Falmatura, ababe, wadunha no little tabra, huh? Yengeti aba we, wosero isubara, lo warase no gala ma wato ni tira.
Mm-hmm.
Bagiti wato ni tira aba wabo chogo ni le wegi ni tugurug.
Mm-hmm.
Aba aba wadugu gus aba wadugu la lu wachulo hani tugurug. Lida gememe tura.
Mm-hmm.
Seme tutti, se le yuta, seme. Leti derero, gabe te wahurchuno, then was luti taseru, galama wabo gota.
Mm-hmm.
Leta gibe te hegi garina gu, lau falmo,
Mm-hmm.
legeti falmo be,
Mm-hmm.
legeto derero.
Mm-hmm.
About wahur.
Mm-hmm.
That's a coconut. Because it seems green, it's one that you can chip from a little side. You make a little spoon, bore a hole, and you drink the water, cut it in half, and you can eat the flesh, digging it out with the spoon you've made from the top skin.
Mm-hmm.
It's very nice. When it is hard, you take it out, and then that's what we grate. And you squeeze to get out the milk that we can use for cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You could cook food like rice. We can make tapo, falmo, and you can also use it to knead flour.
Mm-hmm. So
That's
many
it.
uses. That's how creative
Mhm.
our people are. So
Right.
many
There's
uses out
so
of
many
one thing.
things. And I think with coconut, after you grate it too, what used to happen like in large families, maybe you might have flour, but the flour is not enough to take everybody, right? So
Mm,
they would put coconut in that flour and you would knead it, and you can make tortilla, and you can make Johnny cake. And it
mm,
stretched and the whole family enjoyed, and it
mm.
was nice.
Delicious, yes.
Very delicious. Right? But that's in the I don't know if any other culture do that besides us.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are certain things that I would think was unique only to Garifuna culture. I learned. Otherwise, it's not only unique to our culture. The same cassava bread, for example.
Mm-hmm. I think
I
that's the
went to
next
the
one.
Dominican Republic. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Ereba.
Mm-hmm.
Ereba lira. Lira te. Aba tibugu. Aba libugu. Ereba lira kama. Biscuit ne wanyato.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way it's cut. It's cut small. And we used to call that biscuit, but it's cassava. Now I was just going to talk about cassava and that picture came up. So coincidental. That when I went to the Dominican Republic, I went to the supermarket And what I saw was cassava bread in bags.
I think I saw that the other day too. I was
Right?
shocked.
And I said, but Dominican Republic, I said, I thought this was only us.
Mhm.
I was expecting that it would be from Honduras or say, but
Mm,
it's Dominican Republic.
mhm,
And then they know about farina. That's the edge of the cassava that we would, when our grandparents, my grandmother used to do it, you put it in water and you put a little sugar and you'd eat. But then you also have it from the powder that you can make well, at that time we call it cassava lab. The
mm,
porridge, you make the
mhm,
porridge. And they used
mhm,
to give babies because you'd put your grate nutmeg or cinnamon powder, cinnamon stick, and
mhm.
all that. Then the babies they used to grow and get fat, but now the health authorities are saying it's not
Too
healthy.
much. Mhm,
But that's what most of us grew up on.
mhm, mhm.
Okay?
Banana.
That
Mhm.
was our baby food growing up, and we are still strong.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
cassava again have a lot of use because there is the sweet tuber that we boil and we call it gomanana. The one that you make the cassava with, you call it gai.
Mm,
So gai, that's what you make cassava bread with. Gomanana, that's what you boil and you can eat and you eat. Even though they can both make the cassava bread, you can mix them up, you still get cassava bread, but to eat, you cannot eat gai. Gai
mm,
is the bitter cassava
mhm,
that make cassava bread. So there are different species of gai. And I guess of gomanana, there are different species of gomanana. Because some will tell you about the nice ones,
mm,
right? But those are for the farmers. Because I am not really a farmer, I cannot tell you, well, this is better, that is good. I just know that there are different species, what they
mm,
call them, of both. And I know the difference of gai and gomanana. My grandmother used to know because when we go to farm, she would say, oh, gomanana, trouble, no go. Then when you go on the other side, say, oh, you grab on your guy, let me look back at me naya ha, like a weedy arrow, you know?
mhm, mhm,
So that's why I know that they are that you have gang and gomanana.
mhm.
And some call the gomanana, the from Honduras, they say yuca, but yuca is the Spanish version of the gomanana.
Mm, yeah. 'Cause
Mhm,
when I come here, when I go to the market here, I'm trying to
mhm.
find it, what's the name? What's the name? And it seems like that's what they call it here at the
Yeah,
markets,
they
yuca.
call it
Mhm,
yuca, but yuca is the Spanish origin.
mhm,
The Garifuna is gomanana.
mhm,
And well, in Belize, the Creole would say sweet cassava,
mhm.
right? So where you go, it's the same thing. Different
Mm.
name, same
Different
object.
names. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Right. Mhm. That is Udoro, Falmouth, or Hudut,
Mm.
right? Hudut, the green plant, you beat the green plantain. It's nicer when you mix the green and the ripe.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you fry the fish and you cook it in the coconut milk. Now, earlier I mentioned the coconut milk. That
Mhm,
is falmon. So this one is hudut falmon.
mhm,
You could also make hudut tikini.
mhm.
And this one is falmon. And remember the fish, most people fry the fish, but you could also just boil the fish
And
in the
spoil it.
falmon.
Mhm.
But a young person will tell you they want the fish fry first.
Mhm,
Because
mhm,
sometimes when I cook it, I say, fry my piece.
mhm.
Right? So that's hudut.
Yeah.
And we have Hana, because I have my Hana here too, you know. I have my Hana.
Mhm,
So I cook hudut.
mhm. Nice.
Right. Mhm.
Lot of work to beat that, but yeah.
The only thing is when before it was easy, but now you have to put a lot of cloth there because you're in an apartment.
Mm,
So you have to
mhm.
put towels and stuff to
Kind of
beat,
like,
so you not disturb the person
yes,
downstairs
not to
below
kind
you,
of
right? So
exactly.
But we find a way, it
We'll
still
find
work.
a way, yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
Everything that they used to say, everything that Garifuna eat, gray weight. It's
Oh,
well,
yeah.
it's a lot of work, but
Hard
the end
work, yeah.
result is cement. It's nice.
Something beautiful, something
Right?
like no other. Like,
Right.
you
Because
have
it's
it
like,
for a long time, you miss it.
like Darasa. Darasa is not so easy. You have to peel the banana, wash the banana, peel the banana, grate the banana. Hey, but Darasa nice,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Mm,
A lot of appreciation for the Garifuna foods. Hey,
certainly.
Guinea Garifuna. Carrying
Yeah.
on.
Eh, yes, yes. But cement.
Mm-hmm.
That's a legalisi. That's a church building, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where we go to pray. And most Caribbean, like I said, we're Catholics because now that's changing. And so but we still honor our God. Some people like to say that Garifuna honor their ancestors. We acknowledge our ancestors,
Yes, we do.
right? We
Mm-hmm.
pray for their peaceful rest.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it's not like we honor them like that. We pray, we give them mass in their memory.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? We do things in their memory. We
Mm-hmm.
set food. That's our belief, right?
Mm-hmm.
That they are still there in spirit
Mm-hmm.
and that they're, and everybody's spirit lived on.
Mm-hmm.
We are no longer wrong in flesh, but we are in spirit. And
Mm-hmm.
the church has a lot to do with that because we give them mass in their honor and we go to the church.
Mm-hmm.
It's of lately that they are doing it home. But in my years, my time growing up, we go to church. Nobody used to go to your house
Mm-hmm.
and give mass. You had to go to a church. And the church stayed open all day. Now it cannot.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But
Yeah.
church is legalistic.
Mm,
You really
good.
afraid.
Uh-huh.
Mhm. So we pray and we ask God for forgiveness also.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are not perfect. Only God is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So,
We're all work in progress. Work in
right.
progress.
There is a lot of work in progress. There
Mm-hmm.
is. Right?
So this next one is a song,
Yes.
and
But
I did an excerpt from a song from Andy
and the
Palacio and
Palacio,
the
but
Garifuna
it is
Collective.
so small.
Mm-hmm.
It is so small that I am not seeing, but it's a Cabafuna song. Right? That
Mm-hmm.
song is Cabafuna song. Like who would talk Garifuna to me? Wabute? Kaba Aya Wabute. Who
Mm-hmm.
will make our cassava bread? Right? If I pinch it, it would come big.
Let me
Yeah.
see if I could
Yeah,
hold
yeah.
it with us.
But I
Okay.
have to hold it. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Kabafuna sa ayaha wabute amuyag. Who will bake our cassava bread later on? Kabafuna sa ayano garifuna numa amuyag. Who will talk garifuna with me later?
Mm-hmm.
Kabafuna sa aruma hanuma amuyag. Men do aruma honey. So he's saying who will do aruma honey with me often. The female does abema honey. The
Mm-hmm.
male did aruma honey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to explain aroma honey in English, but the men join hands and then they would sing, and it's a slow song, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's normally slow. It's almost about their life.
Mm-hmm.
Kabafuna sa adugaha. Wow, amuyeg. It means when we die, who will adugaha? Adugaha is a part of the Dogo ritual where
Mm-hmm.
you go to the keys. You'd spend like an overnight at the key. Sometimes it's like you go Friday, you come back in sometimes Sunday. You do the fishing and you would
Mm-hmm.
go deep diving. You come back with conch, with fish,
Mm-hmm.
with the crabs, the gayusa, and the different things and so right? That's part of it. Chiluhada lulareda home. The time has reached for us to save our culture. Chiluhada lula frinde room. Time has come now for us to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Lareda home. Time for us to save again. Furegi for us to pray. Lugi for us to pray for more. Gumugu we need to Ferudu. No, and we ask for forgiveness. Friend day wama for us to learn. Right?
Mhm.
Uh, this part agunda gotia where you know go. So we need to let our the soul, the spirit of our ancestors feel good. Right? We wagia mesa afraid they wrong, so that we will wagaburigu, so we will lose our culture. Right? Maduga. Not for us not to do it. Maduga wame. Don't
Mhm.
lose our culture. Right? And that's it.
Mhm.
It's a nice song. I love that song from Andy
Mhm.
because it brings you back,
Mhm.
right? It brings you back to learning the importance of your culture. And
Mhm.
we were talking, and it's so funny that everything that I would say from the previous, it comes back next. Because I spoke about the ancestors, and
Yes, yes.
here he is mentioning, how the ancestors feel.
Mhm.
And and this song is like, and they were still alive, but did he know
Yes.
he was going so quick? You know,
Mhm.
because of the words in the song.
Mhm.
Right? It has a lot of meaning.
Yes, it does.
Mhm.
And this like speaks to all the effort that is now being made to preserve the culture and the language.
Right.
So much has been done. And I think
Mhm.
because of these songs that and the Palacio and the Garifuna Collective,
Right.
put together. I think it,
They that
it came at the right time, and because of it, a lot of people, were inspired to do
Right.
more.
That group inspired a lot of people in
Mhm,
and outside of Belize.
mhm,
It goes beyond.
mhm,
And the Garifuna Collective, their exposure to the world also give recognition to Garinago, and it makes people become interested in the Garinago.
mhm,
Because people would go to Belize, they go to Honduras, they go to Guatemala, but some of them, the interest is to learn more about the Garinago.
mhm,
Right? And it's becoming more and more. And what is hard for me to understand is all the first Garifuna movement that was openly Garifuna started in Belize.
mhm,
As the National Garifuna Council before Honduras and Guatemala even had Garifuna organizations.
wow,
We from Belize opened the door. And when they saw the success, then different groups started in these other countries,
mhm.
all the way to Nicaragua.
Beautiful.
And that's the reason why Nicaragua also celebrate 19th of November, like in Belize. It's
Mhm,
not that that's what they chose to be their settlement day because they were following almost everything coming from Belize.
mhm,
And then Guatemala started to do when they were formed. They are in November 26th.
mhm,
But the first one who actually acknowledged the first country Garinago and the holiday and everything is Belize.
mhm,
But for some reason, we got laid back and we are no longer pushing.
mhm,
We now stand on the wayside and allow somebody else to take our culture, somebody else to enhance and get rich from our culture, and we stay there. And
mhm,
then we say, what is NGC doing? No, it's not NGC. It's what you are doing to work along with NGC for us to move forward.
mhm,
'Cause all these other organizations in these countries that came after NGC are moving forward.
mhm,
Even here, the Garifuna organizations here, there is no established Garifuna organization that is Belizean
mhm,
in New York. But there is Honduran and there is
mhm,
Guatemalan.
mhm.
And then I would say, besides the mass that is organized by a Belizean group, nothing
Mhm.
else happened.
Mm. How
We
can we change that?
exactly.
There's a large,
There is a
a
large Garifuna
significant, yes,
mhm,
population here in New York.
and an intelligent
Mm.
group,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
nothing seemed to be happening. Like
Mm.
I said, I go to the Bronx because things happen there. They're an organized group. They have a special place
Mm.
that their borough person gave them, their
Mhm.
congressperson gave them. They go all the way to Albany for recognition. And that's
Mhm.
the reason why we have the April, part of March to April as Garifuna Heritage Month.
Mm.
These people work. And I've been to activities for Garifuna Heritage Month. I was not active this year because I don't know, ever since my mom passed last year, I have not been that active. I just said, okay, you know, maybe I'll start again coming this year.
Mhm.
But this is the first year I have not moved around. But they have activities at the Borough Hall, and I attended activities there. But it's not organized by Belizeans. Belizeans invited because I've met one or two Belizeans there. We are
Mhm.
invitees, but we're not even honorees because they would honor Garina going in their community.
Mhm.
I need us to come forward. I
Mhm.
could support, but like I said, I don't want any leadership position. I
Mhm.
think I've retired, I'm advanced in age, and it's for the young people, but I could work along with anybody,
Mhm.
right? To push things forward. My memory and my mind is still there,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So, but we need to do better than what we are doing. I
Mhm.
appeal to Garinago, especially Garinago in New York, from Belize,
Mhm.
that we need to do things differently. We need to participate. We need to organize. Stop being negative. Let's learn to work together. They work
Mhm.
together in LA and it
Mhm.
works.
Mhm.
But what happened to New York? Is something wrong? Maybe it's a rude awakening for me because I'm not here that long. Right?
Mm. We
Yeah,
can
yeah,
do it in Belize and LA. We
no.
just can do it here.
Yeah. Mhm.
But it's possible.
Right. But things could happen.
Mhm.
Just need to be aware, right?
Mhm.
And be prepared to work.
Mhm.
Now, all right, where is this group from? This is a group of Garifuna again from the outfit. This look like this is either Honduras or Guatemala.
Mhm.
But
We
Habina
went
Hayati?
to
Hmm?
Yeah, we went to this is from when I went to one of the Garifuna Mass that's usually held here in New York, in
Okay.
Brooklyn. Yeah. And then they usually have like, an after celebration. So this was
Okay.
that celebration.
That's celebrate after the mass.
Mhm.
I know Cali would celebrate after the mass for 19, but because
Mhm.
again I'm far from Brooklyn, I've heard about once a month Garifuna Mass in Brooklyn. I have a
Once a month.
friend from Honduras who keep telling me about it.
Mhm.
But it's my thing is that because I'm so far, I would need a ride. I said I don't want to take train on a Sunday or take train weekend. I'm on the train Monday to Friday.
Mhm.
I would need a ride like to take me, and then my husband work on weekends, and that's the
Mhm.
reason why I have not attended any of these mass. For the girlfriend mass, I hit for the mass in November. I hitch a ride because you know
Yeah.
people who are going right, and when
Mhm.
then he would pick me up, and when he's available, he would go with me,
Mhm.
right? Because his in his parentage, his mom is like his grandmother is a Carib Indian, Carib.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I like to tell him that he's Garifuna.
Yeah, yeah.
But then but because she's a Carib, she married a black man. So his mom is kind of dark, but you still see the hair. And his mom has passed, but but they have Carib heritage.
Mhm.
Mm. So he embraced Garifuna,
Mhm.
right? So and that's good. But habina hand, he had dong brea, I mutabina ha,
Mhm.
lau haguna,
Mhm.
right? So and that's how we always do it.
Mhm. People dancing, drummers. uh,
Um, it's our culture.
mhm.
It's in our blood. Whenever I hear the drums, oh my, I feel like I'm in heaven. Even if they don't see me dancing, I feel like I'm in heaven, and I just get alert to it,
Mhm.
you know. Because there was one day I was down at Fulton Avenue train waiting for the A train to come home, and there was this guy, two guys with drum, one with a African drum, and the other guy had a Garifuna drum.
What?
And he was drumming. So, they had this thing with the money. So I went and I put money there. And I asked the guy, how long you to be having? But he's from Honduras, right?
Ah,
And he
okay.
said, oh, in doing and I go, yeah.
Mhm.
And then I was trying to pull a conversation, but because he answered, but then he was back to the drum, no? And I said,
Right,
oh,
right.
he said, one of these days I might catch him again. But
Mhm.
it was last year, and so far I haven't seen him again.
Mhm.
Right? But it feels so good. And I
Mhm.
started to sing with him, and he looked at me and said, oh, how you get to be having? I said, I'm ballistic, no good.
Mhm. Mhm.
I said, girlfriend, you get ballistic again. He
Mhm.
said, oh, sister, sister. That's what he said.
Right, right. Mhm.
So it's like, I was blackout to who else was on that platform.
Mhm.
I felt
That's
like
and
I
it
was in heaven.
yeah, and it's amazing how you could come
Right?
from, so far and still meet
Mhm.
someone who shares, your culture.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
a good feeling.
Mhm. It
Yeah.
is. It
Mm.
is.
And how would we say Garifuna people in Garifuna?
Karina,
Marinago.
he
Mhm.
said Garinago. Garinago is Garifuna people.
Mhm.
Garifuna is when it's one person.
Mhm.
And Garifuna is also the language. So it's Garifuna language. And when you see one person, you say, oh, Garifuna Torah, oh,
Mhm.
Garifuna Lira. But once it's
Mhm.
more than one, you will say Garinago Hara.
Mhm.
Right? So
Mhm.
Garifuna people is one word, Garinago.
Mhm.
Mm. And he thought Garao.
Yeah,
So
and
I
you just
drum.
spoke about that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's our drum, and Garifuna have two drums, the segunda and the primera,
Mhm.
right? And the primera is the one that gives the sound. The segunda is like they say that's a female part, you know.
Mhm.
And when you're in a temple for the dugu, you have three big drums. Okay? There is a explanation to those three drums, but I don't want to say because I might not have it right.
Mhm.
Because the three drums, like when you go to Dangrika at the entrance, you see the three drums,
Yes, drums of
how
my
they are set.
father. Yeah.
When you put them at the drums of our father monument, and it's similar to how the drums are set sometimes in Adabuya, you could see them like that hang up sometimes.
Ah.
Right? It
Mhm.
has a meaning, but like I said, I don't want to say something and I don't want to mislead anybody, so I don't have it right.
Mhm. Okay.
But it's good to know that when you're in the Garifuna temple, the Dabuyaba, that it's three big drums.
Mhm.
Mhm. When you see when they do the Mali, you see them hop across, hop around with the drums, but they are the same size. The drummers are just jump. That's a very nice part of the Garifuna Dugu, the Mali.
Mhm.
Right? Now that's a Garifuna flag. There is always an issue with the Garifuna flag because some people say it was yellow, white, and black. And we are saying from Belize it's black, white, and yellow. The
Mhm.
logo inside, that's the NGC logo.
Mhm.
Now we are not asking, the other countries to adopt our logo because they could have their own. But that logo inside is the NGC logo. And
Mm.
it speaks to our struggles, right? When you look at the logo, what we used to do, like fishing, farming, you know, it speaks a lot.
Mhm.
As I noticed that there is a flag also from Honduras that has a different inside, but they insist on putting the yellow to the top. They are saying that it's because they got a stamp from Belize
Mm.
honoring TV Ramos and it had the yellow to the top, which
Mm.
is true because even in Belize at one time, it didn't matter which was to the top, whether it's the yellow or the black.
Mhm.
But later on, documents were found explaining the flag, and it started with the black to the top.
Mm.
And so we corrected our wrong, but the others are holding that error and calling that like that is it. And it's because that they just don't want to see.
Mm.
If we could correct our errors, they could. Because again, everything started from Belize. The Garifuna flag started from Belize. We were the ones who came up with the Garifuna flag, but the Garifuna flag started from way back in the days of CDC. That was the Garifuna. They had the Garifuna Development. It was the Carib Development Aid Society,
Mhm.
CDS, right? All those organizations started in Belize. At that time, we were still referred to as Caribs,
Mhm.
and we would say, when we talk in Garifuna, we are Garifuna from the time I know myself, but everybody else referred to us as Carib. And when we
Mm.
go anywhere and they would ask us, who are you? We say, I'm a Carib.
Mm.
Then later on, we started to embrace the fact that we are Garifuna and
Mhm.
want to be known as Garifuna. And as a
Mhm.
people, we are Garinago and we wanted to be known as Garinago.
Mhm.
Mm. And up to now, it held. And officially, we are a Garifuna people. We are Garinago, and our language is Garifuna.
Mhm.
And we want that known globally.
I
Nothing else, man.
believe
Not
it.
black. Our history have us as black Caribs, all kind of thing. No.
Mhm.
But you don't want to acknowledge us with our true sense as Garinago.
Mhm.
That's what we are.
Mhm. Garinaga Wagaya.
I
We are Garinaga. Mhm.
are proud and happy people, but
Mhm.
there is still a lot and we a long way to go. Sometimes I would say, I wonder if we are still suffering at the hands of the colonizers,
Mhm.
because the colonizers left a lasting effect on us. They created division, they created separation. They it's how why we were referred to by some of those derogatory comments in Belize. And then you would think it was Belize, but I have a friend from St. Vincent and they went through the same thing because
Mhm.
they too had to be in hiding and they were some of the same words they referred to us. I won't repeat them because I
Mhm.
don't like them. But this friend said that's how they used to refer to them too. And I started to wonder, was it from the colonizers?
Mhm.
But we are now an educated set of black people. So rather than separating us as blacks, we need to embrace each other because
Mhm.
we both have a separate history, but our commonality is our color.
Mhm. Mhm.
And in some way, we experienced all we experienced all these things at the hands of the colonizers. So why should you believe them telling you all this crap?
Mhm.
But it's them. Like I say, I won't go into it because I don't want to start all over again.
Mhm.
It's usually not pleasant because
Mhm.
going to school when they would get mad with you and they know you're a Garifuna, oh my God, you hear them,
Mhm.
right? Like they are trying to get you angry.
Mhm.
And at times we do get angry because we don't like it.
Mhm.
It's not us. Right? But These are the things we had to go through. Our ancestors went through it when they went into Belize City. They had to have permit and they had to leave by a certain time.
Hmm.
They had to leave must by 6. They were no longer to be in the city. And then they had to leave. At that time you leave by boat. Why you think they said 36? Because it was 36 nautical miles from Belize City to Dangriga.
Wow.
Right? Then they call us. And we also know and we call ourselves 36 too. Right? But
Yeah.
really, that's how that 36 started. Because our
Mhm.
people used to go into Belize City, they used to sell their mangoes, especially during the mango season. But they had to leave by a certain time. Then eventually that dropped, and people start to go, and then they could have stayed. Then they used to sleep overnight at the market, some of them, and they sell their mangoes and go back home.
Hmm.
It was not an easy life. Our ancestors went through a lot of struggle for us to be just throwing all our culture and everything aside.
Mhm.
What we need to learn is the history and what our ancestors went through,
Hmm.
from St. Vincent to Belize.
Mhm.
And those in Honduras also went through the traumatic lifestyle. They were killed. They also had it.
Hmm.
And if we could get to that, also teach them in Belize what history Honduras had, the things that the Garinago there went through. Like in San Juan, the mass killing of Garinago, why
Hmm.
some of them moved there and they went to Belize.
Mhm.
Some of them went to settle in Hopkins, some in Dangriga. They had to literally run.
Hmm.
So for a while after that exile, we were without a permanent home.
Hmm.
And then we made these countries, after all the struggles, we adjusted and made it home,
Mhm.
right? And now they are here. A lot of them here in the States. But one thing, wherever we go, we are still Garinago.
Mhm.
We are still Garinago. So, we just need to move on.
Mhm. Move forward, knowing where we
Right.
come from, and
But we
all the
need to,
sacrifices our ancestors
just
made
went
for us
through.
to have
Yes.
the freedoms that we have today.
And they know they struggle to get a better life for us. But it
Mhm.
was not for us to forget our culture. They
Mhm.
just wanted a better life for us.
Mhm.
If we need to imitate no matter where the Chinese are, their children speak Chinese.
Mhm.
Mm. And I'm finding a lot of other cultures, this Hispanic, no matter where they are, their children speak Spanish.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we should start to instill that. There are a few families who raise their children here and they speak Garifuna. We need to imitate. That's what we need to imitate. Those are
Mhm.
positive aspects
Right.
and instill it in our Garifuna. But one of these days we'll get there.
Mhm. Work in progress. Work in
Yeah.
progress.
That's a dictionary. That's a Garifuna dictionary. Every
Mhm.
Garifuna household should have a dictionary. There is also one that has, this is Garifuna English. There is one that's Garifuna Spanish English.
Mhm.
Anyone you get, you need to have it. Every Garifuna household should have a Garifuna dictionary.
Mhm.
That's my thing, because it's not giving you word meaning, but it giving you the word from Garifuna to English, and it also gives you the pronunciation.
Mhm.
Right? And it's very good. Garada, aba garada lida Garifuna lu bafraine ru Garifuna, English lebe bayano habe.
Mhm.
It's very good.
Yeah.
It is sold
So,
in Dangriga. It's also sold on Amazon.
oh, it's on Amazon too?
It's on Amazon.
Okay.
And the one
Cool.
in Spanish is Garifuna English Spanish is also on Amazon.
Okay.
There are a lot of Garifuna books on Amazon.
Mhm. The same one by Luz Solis Ramos that you spoke
That's on
about earlier.
Amazon too.
I have one of
Mhm.
those. Yeah, I got it. I think I got it from Amazon.
Yeah,
I
that's
learned
awesome.
about it from my aunt.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then I think I bought it from Amazon. So yeah.
I go to Amazon and I search for Garifuna books.
Mhm.
Yeah, and when it come, I said, "Whoa!" So I have some. I'll buy some. There are books by Andoni. Well, they are not really Garifuna books, but he's an Garifuna author.
Mhm.
And they are nice reads. I buy
Mhm.
his books. I have
Mhm.
them, right? Except he have more books in there are some in Spanish that have not been translated, but as soon as they get translated in English and they're on Amazon, I get
Mhm. Mhm.
because it's more historical facts.
Mhm.
Right? So good.
Yeah. And so, part of what I'm trying to do is, of course, have our people tell their stories because no one can tell our stories better than us.
Yeah.
And in doing so, others, especially young people, can see that, you can still live your life, but still be Garifuna and still
Mhm.
embrace the language and the culture. So that is part of what I'm trying to do and trying to get more people to want to learn the language, speak the language, and learn why it's important to, learn the language. And of course, finding ways to creative ways to have more people want to learn the language. So
And
that's part of what I'm trying to do.
that's a very good effort. I applaud the effort. And don't be discouraged. You just continue push on. And if you win one person, you satisfy you win somebody. Right? So I
Thank
would
you.
say,
Much
Dorothy, you're
appreciated.
doing something good. The
Mhm.
exposure is good. And I know that there will be people who will listen and who will listen to the program whenever you have it available. Some will like it, some will not. But like I said, don't be discouraged.
Mhm.
We all start at a low pace. And once we continue the determination continues, we push and push, hey, and eventually you realize I'm here,
Mhm.
right? You just continue to do what you're doing, girl. I love it.
Thank you. Much
And yeah,
appreciated.
and I love and I support anything that promotes Garifuna,
Mhm.
right?
Thank you.
Well,
So other than, all that we've spoken about, are there any talents or hobbies that you engage in other than what we've discussed?
my hobby is reading. Yeah, I used to like being in the kitchen,
Mhm.
right? And I've loved reading. So no, if I don't get a good book, like I said, I buy these books, I go to
Mhm.
Amazon, I read, and I go on the internet and I look. I like to further my knowledge on things.
Mhm.
I'm not a sports person, so I can't say I run, I do track. No, I'm not sports, but I love reading. I would read books on the train. I love to read. And when I'm in home, I'd like to cook, especially on weekends.
Mhm.
Right? I like to be in the kitchen and I love to cook Garifuna.
Mhm.
Right? So that's my hobby.
Okay, great.
Mhm. The more knowledge I get, the better I feel. But
Mhm.
now the knowledge I'm seeking is about Garifuna.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, and you've already told us about all the work that you've done with NGC, so
mhm,
that suffices that. Is that
mhm.
so? What's next for you, Miss Sandra? Where do you see yourself in the next year or couple years from
Well,
now?
I keep saying that I'm retired, but we are retired from one job and you're still doing something else. So, well, no, I'm here, retired from Belize, still working full time. I said I still have a few more, like a year or so that I might be working.
Mhm.
But along with that, in my spare time, I still help. I have different things that I do. I came and I tell you Derek, I came here because of my grasp for knowledge. I am now a tax preparer. So during the tax season, I have a part-time job. So I do taxes. I work with a company, but my thing is to get to learn more that eventually I could work on my own.
Mhm.
Right? So I'll continue to work with that company until I build my full confidence to be off. And now and then I've done some from home.
Mm.
You know. So I'm building my clientele.
Okay.
So I'm
Mhm.
seeing myself working from home. Also again, as because the job asked, I said I was given a hard time. I said, no, I don't want to do that. So, but now I'm also a notary public because
Mhm.
they wanted well, a co-worker was trying to get it, and somehow because you have to pass the exam. And because then she gave up and said, oh no, so they asked me, I said, oh, okay. But then I said, they came twice, and I said, you know what, let me get these people off my back. But I didn't know I would have gotten with it.
Mhm.
I just said, okay, I'll do it. So I got the information and I started to do some reading, and I passed the Notary Public test, and now I'm a Notary Public.
Okay.
I
Great.
sign things mainly at work
Mhm.
because of the job I do. Always need things notarized, like
Mhm.
legal documents and so notarized. Right?
Mhm.
But like, if you study what you learn, being a notary public, you're a public officer. So it's not, well, I'm not a notary public only for the job. It has to be, as long as I'm called, I need to do it.
Mhm.
Right? So those are the things I've been doing. So how I see myself forward is doing things from home. And when I'm no longer working, I hope I could put more into my culture. But
Mhm.
because the push I'm getting is from the group in the bronze, I keep saying I might need to find a way to get to the bronze.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I might just do it like maybe once in a while, like once a quarter or so, get to the bronze and participate. But
Mhm.
unless if something comes up in Brooklyn, then maybe I could be in Brooklyn more after. I could be in Brooklyn more after than I am than to the bronze.
Mhm.
I am not giving up on my culture. But that's the way forward for me
Mhm.
until such time,
Mhm.
But I'm not going to sit down and give up and
Mhm.
do nothing.
Mhm.
I think doing nothing will get me disabled quicker.
Mhm. The more you
Right?
do and, be
Yes.
active,
Mm.
the more, your
Mm.
mind and your body stay.
Right. And the mind is still working.
Mhm.
Right? Because I love what I do. I love accounts and I'm working QuickBooks. That's something I love. I used to teach I have several part-time jobs that I did not mention because I teach with UWI part-time. I used to teach accounting theory,
Mhm.
and I teach I used to teach advanced accounting. I used to teach at UB accounting also. And when the QuickBooks teacher is absent, I used to fit in because I work QuickBooks at UB. I learned QuickBooks from KHMH. I was the director of finance at KHMH, and that's where I learned QuickBooks. And when you start learning those big organizations, it stays,
Mhm.
right? So and I'm also a bookkeeper where I am, and we use QuickBooks. And now I'm using QuickBooks online.
Mhm.
And I love it. So I love what I do. As long as it has to do with figures, I love it. And that was embedded in me from my income tax career.
Mhm.
Yes.
Nice, and that's like one of the most sought after careers, Always
Yeah.
need someone to do taxes, always.
So that's what I do. So
Mhm. That's great.
mhm.
And how important, um, let me ask this instead. Do you think it's important for us to, be mentors to other people who may want to learn, some of the skills that we have or learn from some of our experiences? So
Of
it's
course.
important, do you think?
Of course, we need to be mentors because what we know, we shouldn't keep to ourselves.
Mhm,
And that's why I got into teaching all these things, right? Because
mhm,
I want somebody else to have that experience, to get that knowledge, and so they move on.
mhm.
I like to say how I got where I am, and I would tell anybody, listen, don't even use age to say you're too old to learn. I like to tell them I went to University of the West Indies. I was I spent celebrated my 40th birthday in my third year.
Wow.
And the next stage after was to do my MBA. And I got the MBA. And it
Nice.
got me to where I am.
Mhm,
And after I got the MBA, that's when I started to do things with UWI even more because I was a tutor after the bachelor's degree. I
mm,
did a bachelor's degree in accounting and I did accounting special. So my focus was accounting.
mhm,
And I did the MBA in management. So you put a mixture of accounting and management. Man, I couldn't ask for nothing more,
mhm,
right? So I had full-time job and I had part-time jobs. And this was in Belize, so you could do it anywhere.
mhm,
And while some people are afraid of the computers, I taught online. I learned, I had to know, and my teaching was online.
mhm.
And all during COVID, I was teaching,
Oh, wow.
right? I had to learn Zoom quicker than anybody, right? Because I was still president of NGC and we had to have Zoom meetings, you know? So you can do it. Just don't be hooked on age because some people would like, wait, you're done so old. You're not too old to do anything.
Mhm,
It's all in your mind. I came here in my 60s and I'm still doing things.
mhm.
So don't let it be a factor. President Biden is 81. So where would that put me?
Yeah.
You just have to have the will.
Mhm,
And I am willing to mentor. In fact, even when I teach, I would tell them things that would encourage them. I say, you could do it. I would tell them,
mhm,
you're younger than me. Make use of it. I say, enjoy it from now.
mhm,
Right? And I would give them steps into like my accounting students. I give them steps how to be a CPA. And I'll tell them once you're a CPA, you're good in Belize, you're good outside of Belize.
mhm,
You just need to do it right.
mhm,
Right? I was unfortunate, not a CPA, but I'm still working in accounts here because
mhm.
of all the experience I have.
Right.
Right? And when I was put to the test, I got it.
Mhm,
Right? So that's what I'm doing. Your knowledge is something that nobody will take away from you.
mhm,
So take in all you can take in. And then when you mentor, it doesn't have to, I could just give for accounts, but whichever field you are, there is somebody interested in your field.
mhm,
So take on that person and work with them. And maybe more Garina going to need to do that.
mhm.
We would empower more Garifuna youths. Right?
Totally agree.
So we need to move. We need
Mhm,
to be, like I said, there are a lot of Garifuna here who can be role models. You just need to take on the right youth.
mhm.
Right. So
Okay. And thanks for sharing that. And so if you're, if there's someone out there who's interested in connecting with you or want you to be their mentor or learn from your experiences, how would that person connect with you?
I am on Facebook. I'm on
Mhm,
Facebook as Sandra George.
mhm,
Right? So I guess that's easy to find.
Mhm.
and you can communicate with me there,
Mhm.
right? I could give my phone number, but I don't like to answer phone calls if you don't know where it is, because there are so many
Yes.
scams.
Yes.
Right?
So Facebook is fine.
Facebook, that's why I said there are so many
Yeah.
scams, you know. So
Mhm.
Facebook is fine. You can send me a message. The Facebook is Sandra George, and I'm easy to find. Or you might find Sandra Miranda George. That's still me.
Mhm. Okay.
Right?
Great.
All right. And I'm willing to, once you contact me and I know who you are and we can establish, then we'll get to the phone calls. It could be WhatsApp, you know. There are so many ways of communicating these days.
Mhm. Okay. And finally, we're only put here for a certain amount of time. So when the time comes, how do you want people to remember you? When they hear the name Sandra Miranda George, what do you want them to think when they hear that name?
What I want them to think is this is a strong Garifuna woman and a Garifuna advocate, right, who believes in education and who believes strongly in her Garifuna culture.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Or you can say, I tried to be the best mother I could be
Mm-hmm.
for my children, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sandra Miranda George, Sarame, Sarame, Sarame. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Uh,
Yeah,
it was a pleasure.
same here. So I will, you know, give you the last words. Any last words?
I think I've said the last word. I've said enough, and it's just my wish is that the Garinagu from Belize who are in New York could establish themselves as a group and come together and find and let us, I'll put myself in, let us find a way to move forward. Scrap the negativity, put our differences behind us, and move forward. There will always be differences, but we can learn how to work together.
Mhm.
That's my final.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Sandra.
Uh,
Ayo.
Ayo, may amuyag.